To debate the merger of the DA-run Midvaal with the ANC-run Emfuleni is the ANC's Brian Hlongwa and the DA's Fred Nel. A very good evening to you, gentlemen, and thank you for coming in. Let's start with getting party reaction first from the DA.
Well, as a DA, we're bitterly disappointed in the decision by the Municipal Demarcation Board. We are of the opinion that the decision was politically motivated and there are no objective criteria to which this decision actually adheres to.
What do you say to that, politically motivated?
Well, we need evidence. As we speak, there's no evidence. We welcome the decision. It makes sense for development. It makes sense for Gauteng, and in particular for poor residents who live in Midvaal at the moment and under-serviced.
Now, Mr. Nel, you do have legal recourse. Is the DA going to take this matter to court?
Yes, we've briefed our lawyers to have a look at the decision of the Municipal Demarcation Board. We are also waiting information from them to see what they base their decision on. And we believe that this will be a great test case dealing with demarcation in general in the country. And we believe that there's a strong case to answer by the Municipal Demarcation Board.
Earlier, the Demarcation Board's Landiwe Mahlangu was very adamant. He said, if you go to court, it's fine. He'll fight you in court. He says they've never lost a case. How do you respond to that?
Well, we've been involved in this process from step one, and I think this process is under much more scrutiny than any of the other cases that they've been involved in before. So I do think that they do have a fight on their hands. We've scrutinized sections 24 and 25 of the Demarcation Act specifically, according to which they must make their decisions, and we feel that based on that, as well as independent reports that were commissioned by the Department of Local Government in Gauteng, as well as the Municipal Demarcation Board themselves, that indicated that this demarcation actually does not adhere to those requirements.
Why is this demarcation a good thing?
It makes perfect sense for the following reasons. If you're to talk about the future development of Gauteng in particular, given its strategic role in the economy of this country, look at the two municipalities. Midvaal, it's a tiny enclave with only 23,000 households, about 100,000 residents. Let's look at Emfuleni. Over 800,000 residents, over 220,000 households. Let's look at the land size. Midvaal is twice the size of Emfuleni. In other words, we have more poor people in Emfuleni, landlocked. The opposite is true in Midvaal. Fewer people, large tracts of land. What is the case study? Remember a place that is called Midrand today? Midrand, which is between Pretoria and Johannesburg, is not different from Midvaal. We were there before. Midvaal is just between Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni on the one side and Vereeniging. It's right in between. So if you're to talk about development in Gauteng, it would make perfect development sense to ensure that the two municipalities are brought together, not only in terms of economies of scale, but in terms of meeting the basic needs of all the people, including issues of economic development and job creation.
Mr. Nel, you've heard Mr. Hlongwa's argument there. Are you not staggering development in that area by not going ahead with this decision or complying with it?
I don't think so. I think there's a much larger debate at stake, and that is how do we make sure that local government in Gauteng and in the country is sustainable, and what is the best way for them to operate sustainably. And I believe that smaller municipalities, where they are viable, should continue on their own, and just lumping them together for the sake of lumping them together does not make sense. You must also remember that integration in a merger comes with a huge cost. The Tshwane mayor last week, for instance, indicated that just including Kungwini and Gauteng into Tshwane, just the announcement alone cost them R1 billion. And you must also look at the time that it takes to integrate staff structures, computer systems and the like. Joburg is still struggling with its billing system after their 2000 merger. So it's not as simple as it seems.
Will the ANC be able to do that integration, as Mr. Nel is saying? And are you going to promise better service delivery then once this amalgamation takes place?
Let's look at scientific evidence before us. Let's use the city of Johannesburg as an example. 40% of the people of Johannesburg reside in Soweto. Soweto was a standalone poor municipality, so was Alexander. The only municipalities that were sustainable were 4, and they were white-rand. Those were Roodepoort, Sandton, Randburg, Old City of Johannesburg. When we took a decision that one city, one tax base, we had the same arguments that it won't work. Here's Johannesburg today. It's a thriving city. What has happened to Soweto? It's unbelievable. You have redistribution, you have a city that is functioning, you have the economies of scale, and Johannesburg continues to be a major engine of growth in this province. So the issue of small municipalities is not because it's politics. Let's look in the West Rand. We have Western area. It's an ANC-run municipality. It's not sustainable as well. It needs to be matched with rand funding. What's the argument? The argument is that cities today is not just about sizes. Cities are engines for growth.
What would you say to people that are saying perhaps the DA here is playing petty party politics because you, for example, you run the Western Cape and you don't have any issues there, so you're holding on here because this is the one municipality you have in Gauteng?
Well, we believe we'll be doing significantly better in the election next year, and we believe that will put us in a position to win more municipalities in Gauteng, and we're not necessarily just banking on one municipality. So growth is obviously very important for the DA. So that argument we don't think hold water. We think what you should look at is the history of demarcation, the establishment of metros, especially in Gauteng. If you look at the costs of operations of metros, they are very expensive forms of government to run. And if you look at the population size, as Brian has said, for instance, of combining Emfuleni and Midvaal, and you compare that with the Joburg or Tshwane, it doesn't compare at all. It doesn't have the same economies of scale. It has a much lower population, and it just will be too expensive for that small tax base to run a metro government.
On the flip side, Midvaal has always been a hot potato. The ANC has failed in the past to win Midvaal, and now many people are saying, well, you're just taking it.
Well, we've got very short memories. The history of the matter is that Midvaal was actually part of what then was known as Likwaval. So it's not like it's a new decision. As it stands at the moment, it's just not sustainable. Let's take one of the biggest challenges that is facing that region. There's not a single municipality that has capacity to provide bulk infrastructure, sewer in particular. And that includes part of Johannesburg, by the way, areas like Orange Farm, Palm Springs. By bringing the two municipalities together, with the help of the provincial and national government, as we speak right now, there will be a new sewer treatment plant which will open development potential for that entire region. So not just Midvaal or Emfuleni alone. So we think it makes perfect economic sense. What are the results as we speak? The few investments that have been made in Midvaal, take two, one being the Sedibeng breweries, which is Heineken, the second one, which is La Rochelle, which is a chocolate factory. What restricts their potential to develop further at the moment? There's no bulk infrastructure. The question is, can Midvaal on its own meet the challenge? The answer is a simple no.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time. That was the DA's Fred Nell and the ANC's Brian Hlongwa.